Once upon a time, in a big happy village in the heart of Trina Kingdom, there lived a young girl named Kuma. Kuma was known for her sweet smile and kind heart. Her heart was small and cozy, filled with love from her parents who had gone to the stars when she was just 15. Now, Kuma's parents were once like sunshine to everyone. They loved to help the villagers, but they had a special way of helping. If someone came to them in trouble, saying, "Oh, I need help, my crops failed," or "My cow is sick," Kuma's daddy would nod and say, "Okay, I can help you, but can you give me something? Maybe your little piece of land or a small hut, just to hold until you pay back." Some people in the village didn't like this much. They whispered, "It's tough. Kuma's parents help, yes, but they take our lands when we can't pay them back fast." This made some villagers a bit scared to ask for help because they didn't want to lose their farms or huts. Kuma knew her parents did this, not to be mean, but because they thought it was the fairest way. They believed it made sure everyone tried hard to pay back. But Kuma always felt a little sad about it. She wished there could be a way to help without making people worry about their homes or lands. As she grew, Kuma promised herself that she would find a way to help others just like her parents, but maybe in a kinder way, a way that kept everyone smiling and no one worrying about losing their little piece of the world. And so, in the village where the trees danced with the wind and the streams sang softly, Kuma lived, loved by many, but always thinking about how to make her village a better place for everyone. One chilly evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, painting the sky with strokes of orange and pink, Kuma was tidying up her stall in the village market. Her stall was filled with colorful fruits and sweet-smelling spices that drew many people every day. But packing up was always a little lonely and very tiring. Just as Kuma was folding her last tablecloth, she heard a gentle voice. "Need some help?" Kuma looked up and saw Alicia, a neighbor from across the market. Alicia had golden brown hair that shimmered under the market lights, and she wore a kind smile. Kuma, a bit surprised but happy, nodded. Together, they stacked the baskets and folded cloths. As they worked, they started to chat. Alicia talked about her favorite flowers, and Kuma shared her love for the stars that twinkled above their village every night. Alicia knew about Kuma's parents and how her own family had lost their farmland because of a loan they couldn't pay back. But Alicia didn't let that sad memory stop her from being kind to Kuma. She thought, "Kuma is not her parents. She is my friend." That evening, as the market lanterns dimmed and the cool night wrapped the village in a sleepy blanket, Kuma and Alicia walked home together. They laughed about silly things like ducks waddling in the market square and how the old village dog, Bazoo, always seemed to know the best spots to find treats. By the time they reached their huts, stars were sparkling like little diamond lights in the sky, and Kuma felt a warm glow in her heart. She had made a new friend, one who understood the whispers of the past, but looked at her and saw just Kuma, not the shadows of old stories. From that night, Kuma wasn't just the girl from the stall anymore. She was Alicia's friend, and together they were going to make lots of happy memories in their big, bright village. Kuma and Alicia quickly became the best of friends. Every morning, they would meet and walk to the market together, chatting and laughing like two peas in a pod. Alicia helped Kuma at the stall, learning how to arrange the fruits just right and chatting with the customers who all grew to like her too. In the afternoons, when the sun wasn't too hot, they would go to Kuma's farm. Alicia learned to plant seeds and water the crops, and together They watched the plants grow. They even made up songs about their vegetables, singing as they worked. Sometimes, in the cool of the evening, they would take long walks around the village. They admired gardens, watched the children play, and enjoyed the beautiful sunsets. Everyone in the village saw how happy Kuma and Alicia were together. They were always smiling, always kind, and their laughter could be heard from far away. It seemed like, with Alicia, Kuma's world got a little brighter and her smiles a bit bigger. One night, after a long day of selling and smiling, Kuma returned to her small hut, her feet dragging a little from tiredness. She had made a lot of money that day, more than usual, and her heart was full of plans on how to use it. Maybe some new seeds for the farm or a pretty new cloth for the market stall. But as she lifted her mattress to hide her money in the little wooden chest she kept there, her heart stopped. The chest was open, empty. The money was gone. Kuma felt as if the floor had slipped away under her feet. She sank down, her eyes wide with shock and hurt. Who could have done this? Tears came, slow at first, then all at once, like a heavy rain on her cheeks. She felt so alone, so vulnerable. Her hard work, her plans, all stolen away in the night. The next morning, Kuma told Alicia what had happened. Alicia's heart ached as she listened. She remembered her own family's loss, how Kuma's father had taken their farmland when they couldn't pay back his loan. A storm of feelings churned inside her, sadness for her friend, and a bitter taste of old hurts. But looking at Kuma's tear-streaked face, Alicia's kindness won over her bitterness. She reached into her purse and pulled out some coins. "Here, Kuma," she said, placing the money in Kuma's trembling hands. "This is to help you get through today. We'll figure this out together." Kuma looked up, her eyes meeting Alicia's. In that moment, she saw not just the friend who had laughed with her under the market's sunny skies, but also a friend who stood by her in the darkest, saddest times. Kuma felt a small warmth grow inside her, a little spark of gratitude amidst the cold fear of her loss. "Thank you, Alicia," Kuma whispered, her voice thick. "Thank you for being here." As they hugged, the weight of the past and the pain of the present mingled. Yet the strength of their friendship felt stronger than ever. They were more than just market neighbors now. They were sisters of the heart, bound by shared pain and shared resilience. Together, they decided to be careful, to watch over each other. No one in the village knew who the thief was, but Kuma and Alicia knew they had each other. And sometimes, in a world where shadows could hide in any corner, knowing you're not alone is the brightest light of all. Feeling lost and unsure, Kuma decided it was time to seek help. She remembered her aunt, who lived in the next village over, always had a wise word and a warm hug ready. So, Kuma set off early one morning, walking through the dewy fields and over the gentle hills to her aunt's village. When her aunt saw Kuma, she could tell right away that something was wrong. "Oh, my dear Kuma, what troubles you so?" she asked as they sat down under a large, shady tree. Kuma told her everything about the thefts, the lost seeds, and her emptied stall. Her aunt listened quietly, her eyes full of concern. Without a second thought, her aunt went inside and came back with some money. "Here, my child, use this to refill your stall and buy your seeds," she said, placing the money in Kuma's hand. "But be cautious, and let's think of a way to catch this sneaky thief." Kuma hugged her aunt, feeling a bit lighter. She returned home, her steps quicker and her heart a bit hopeful. She was determined to solve this mystery and keep her new seeds and goods safe. With her aunt's support, Kuma felt ready to face whatever came next. With her aunt's encouragement and a new plan in her mind, Kuma decided it was time to seek even more help. She set out for the Grand Palace at the center of Trina Kingdom, where the king himself lived. It was a big, towering place, and Kuma felt a little nervous as she walked up to the big, golden gates. Kuma was led into a grand room where the king sat on a high throne. She bowed low and told the king about the mysterious thefts that troubled her. "Your Majesty," Kuma began, her voice just a whisper at first, "I come to you because I have been wronged. Thieves have stolen my money, and I fear for my safety and my livelihood." The king listened, his eyes softening. "We cannot have our citizens live in fear," he declared. "I will assign 2 guards to watch over your hut and stall. No one should feel unsafe in our kingdom." Kuma bowed deeply, her heart swelling with gratitude. But just as she turned to leave, a young man stepped forward. It was Prince Fagba, the king's son, known for his bravery and kind heart. He had been listening from the shadows, and something about Kuma's plight touched him. "Father, may I visit Kuma's farm and see how we might aid her further?" Prince Fagba asked, his eyes meeting Kuma's. The king nodded, and so it was decided. The next day, Prince Fagba arrived at Kuma's farm, just as she was tending to her new crops. The prince didn't just stand and watch, he rolled up his sleeves and helped her, pulling weeds and planting seeds. As they walked, Fagba talked about the palace and its many wonders. But he also listened, really listened, to Kuma's stories of village life, her dreams for her farm, and her love for the stars above. They laughed together, and Kuma found herself sharing smiles more freely than she had in a long time. Prince Fagba visited often after that day, each time bringing a little joy and a lot of help. Kuma started to feel safer and less alone, knowing that someone from even the highest ranks cared for her well-being. It was a friendship that bloomed amidst the rows of sprouting seeds, a friendship that promised new growth, just like the crops they tended together. As the days grew warmer and the farm began to thrive again, Prince Fagba's visits became the highlights of Kuma's weeks. With each visit, he brought not just his laughter and help, but also stories from faraway lands and dreams of a peaceful kingdom. Under the golden sun, amidst the rustling crops, a special bond formed between the prince and the village girl. One day, as they sat under the shade of a large baobab tree after a long morning of work, Fagba looked at Kuma with a warmth in his eyes that made her heart flutter unexpectedly. He took a deep breath and said, "Kuma, I have to tell you something. I think I have come to love you, not just for your strength and kindness, but for the joy you bring to everyone around you, including me." Kuma's cheeks turned the color of the setting sun. She felt a mix of joy and fear. She remembered Alicia's warnings about the complexities of being involved with someone from the royal family. Being a prince means you could have anyone, and being a king one day, you might have to make choices that could hurt us both, Alicia had said, her voice heavy with concern. Fagba saw the hesitation in Kuma's eyes. "I know my life seems different from yours, and there are duties I must one day fulfill. But I promise, Kuma, my feelings for you are true. I want to make this work, if you'll let me." Kuma's heart was torn. Here was a man who saw her for who she truly was, who had shown her nothing but kindness and respect. Yet the shadow of potential heartache loomed large. She thought of her parents, her village, and her own dreams. "I need to think about this, Fagba," Kuma said softly. "Your world is so different from mine. I need to be sure that I can be a part of it without losing myself. Fagba nodded, understanding her fears. Take all the time you need, Kuma. I'll wait for your heart to decide. No matter what, I'll always be your friend and support you. As Fagba left that day, Kuma watched him go, feeling a swirl of emotions. She admired his honesty and his willingness to wait for her. It made her respect him even more, but it also made the decision harder. Love was blooming, delicate and beautiful, but it was entwined with fears and what ifs, just like the vines in her garden. As the friendship between Kuma and Prince Fagba deepened, Alicia's heart grew heavy with a burden from the past. The memory of her family's loss darkened her thoughts. Though she cared for Kuma, the old wounds of injustice whispered to her, urging her to protect herself from possible future betrayals. One day, driven by these swirling emotions and fearing that Kuma might abandon their friendship for her new royal ties, Alicia devised a plan to test the prince's intentions. It was a moment of weakness, a lapse where pain overrode her better judgment. She invited Fagba to Kuma's hut under the pretense that Kuma needed him urgently. When Fagba arrived, Alicia, trembling with mixed feelings, told him that Kuma had been called away to help a neighbor, but would return soon. She urged him to wait inside the hut. As Fagba waited, Alicia quickly scattered some of her own jewelry and a few of Kuma's belongings around the room to appear as though there had been a struggle, as Fagba had brought in another woman whom he slept with. When Kuma returned, Alicia tearfully told her that Fagba had come with another woman, showing her the disarray as proof of her claim. Kuma's heart shattered. The sight of the scattered items, the jewelry, and Alicia's tear-streaked face convinced her of a betrayal too painful to accept. The seeds of doubt Alicia planted grew rapidly into a thicket of heartbreak and anger. Why would he do this? Kuma wept, her dreams dissolving like mist in the morning sun. She confronted Fagba when he emerged from the hut, confusion etched across his face. With every word he tried to say, Kuma's heart hardened. She could not hear the truth over the roaring of her betrayal. I trusted you, Fagba. How could you? Kuma cried out, the words a spear in both their hearts. Fagba, bewildered and desperate, tried to explain, to tell her he had been set up, that he had waited only for her. But Kuma, blinded by her pain, wouldn't listen. Leave, she said, her voice cold, and do not return. I do not know you. That night, Kuma lay awake, the shadows in her hut dancing mockingly. Alicia, too, lay in her own bed, her victory hollow, the taste of revenge like ashes in her mouth. She had protected her friend, she told herself, but deep down, she knew she had acted out of unresolved pain. And so, with heavy hearts and unspoken truths lingering like fog, a rift grew, where once there had been the promise of love and understanding. Kuma and Fagba, separated by a tragic misunderstanding, faced their nights full of regret and sorrow. Not long after the sad incident, the village was buzzing with news, until one fateful day, the real thief was caught. A young man from a distant part of the kingdom, desperate and ragged, was captured by the guards while trying to steal from another stall at the market. They brought him to the village square where everyone gathered, including Kuma and Alicia. Under the watchful eyes of the villagers, the thief was questioned. Shaking and scared, he finally confessed. It was Alicia who paid me to steal from Kuma, he blurted out, his words sending a shock wave through the crowd. Kuma gasped, her heart sinking as she turned to look at Alicia. The prince, who had also come to see the commotion, stepped forward. "Why would you do this?" he asked Alicia sternly. Tears in her eyes, Alicia revealed a painful truth. "Kuma's father once took our farm as payment when my family couldn't pay back his money. We lost everything, and my parents struggled until they passed away. I wanted Kuma to feel the loss I felt," she sobbed. The revelation stunned the village. People gathered in small groups, murmuring about the tangled web of past deeds and present pain. They looked at Kuma with new eyes, seeing not just the kind-hearted girl they knew, but also the shadow of her family's legacy. Kuma felt a storm of emotions, anger, betrayal, but also an aching sadness for Alicia's loss and despair. She realized how deeply the past had rooted itself in their lives, influencing actions and warping friendships. With the truth laid bare, the village elders decided Alicia's fate. It was determined that she must leave the village, a decision that pained Kuma despite everything. As Alicia packed her belongings, Kuma approached her, the weight of their shared history heavy between them. "I'm sorry for your pain, Alicia," Kuma said, her voice trembling. "I didn't know about your family. I wish things could have been different for us." Alicia, her eyes meeting Kuma's, nodded slowly. "I wish that too," she whispered. "Maybe in another life, we could have been sisters under better stars." With that, Alicia left, her departure marking the end of a chapter filled with loss and lessons learned the hard way. Kuma watched her go, feeling the finality of their parting and knowing that the road to healing would be long and lonely, but necessary. She turned back to her village, to her life, with a heart ready to forgive and a spirit determined to rebuild, stronger and wiser than before. After the truth came out, Prince Fagba found Kuma sitting alone by the river, looking out at the water. He sat beside her and explained everything from his perspective. He told her how he had only fallen asleep and nothing untoward had happened in Alicia's hut. Hearing his sincere words and seeing the honesty in his eyes, Kuma felt the heavy weight in her heart lighten. She forgave Fagba, realizing the true extent of Alicia's deception. As they talked more, Kuma and Fagba discovered a deep connection between them, built on mutual respect and understanding. With time, their friendship blossomed into love. They decided to get married, uniting not just their hearts, but also bringing their communities closer together. On their wedding day, the whole village celebrated with joy and laughter. Flowers bloomed brighter than ever, and the air was filled with sweet songs. Kuma and Fagba, hand in hand, smiled at their future together. Through these trials, Kuma learned a hard lesson about trust and betrayal, but she also learned the power of forgiveness. She realized that not everyone who smiles is a friend, but also that every mistake is a chance to learn and grow. The village too learned from Kuma's story. They saw how secrets and past grievances could hurt lives, but also how openness and forgiveness could heal them. Kuma's journey taught everyone to look beyond the surface, to understand others' pains, and to offer compassion. Kuma and Fagba lived happily, their lives a testament to the belief that while the past may shape us, it does not define us. Together, they looked forward to a future of peace, love, and understanding, their hearts filled with hope and their days with laughter. I hope you enjoyed the story. If so, comment what you learned from the tale for more enchanting tales just like this one. Thank you.